Steve's got a great question. I think this one's directed at me, but I think we all could try this. Anthony, from your experience and perspective, is it more difficult to implement change as an administrator when litigation comes down from the state? Time restriction must make it difficult as well. So, you mind if I go first on this one, guys? Because this is not an easy one because so at the administrative level, so let me just do it this way, guys. When you empower your staff, you empower them to solve problems at that level. Like you don't delegate tasks, you delegate authority, and you let them carry it out. When they start to have to push matters up, and even when we as administration have to start pushing matters up, you have to realize the higher up you go, people only see liability. So you want to try to keep most of the decision making here unless you have to move it up. And at that point, those usually become the questions that could relate to liability. So having said that, if there is a perceived failure, that something should have been done, but it wasn't done correctly, and the consequences, I mean, it's tough to make this a learning experience, let's say, because the consequences are so severe, usually something relating to the preservation of life, let's say, maybe a suicide, an assault, whatever it is, where the consequences of a failure are risen, well, then you're going to have to probably put in some immediate memo, some policy. Again, you don't want to do that all the time because the problem is you do that all the time, then the memos start to lose out on that weight of severity because there's sometimes where you're going to have to put it out. I get it. And when those memos come out, people should be like, holy shit, that's a shock. We really got to work on this one because he doesn't usually put out memos. But if you're putting out memos for every little thing, then the stuff that really matters kind of gets minimized because it kind of gets, oh, there's another memo. So I think when you have the consequences and they're high, in order to avoid liability, we have to cross our T's and dot our I's because if that mistake happens again or that failure happens again, then we are going to be held liable. And there are sometimes, guys, where there are certain failures that could be corrective action. You know, I could work with this person, constructive learning. And then there's some that they're just, the consequences are just too high and you have to treat it with that level of intensity. So sometimes management will make a decision to push down a memo or policy immediately because of the back end of another failure, you know, especially because this last one caused the life of an inmate and we cannot have this happen again. So it's sad because you kind of divide into a, you kind of it's like a point the finger type thing, but it shouldn't be looked at that way. Good management will do that to protect the facility. And I want people to know something. Sometimes management has to make a very tough decision, guys. And I'm going to give you this right now. And hopefully you guys understand this perspective because this is hard, but I have to say it. Sometimes management has to protect the house by holding people accountable. It is what it is. There's no other way to soften it. Is it a last resort? Yeah, you're not going to do it for little things that could be corrective. I mean, make the effort, talk to your people. But there are certain times where you just can't. The consequences were that severe that I have to hold somebody accountable for this one in order to protect the house. And at the end of the day, we are a family, yes, but we're also a team that serves a function. And that is management's function. Management's function, which most people may not understand, is to alleviate liability. That's our function. So if we fail to act and do that and make those difficult decisions, then we shouldn't be in that management position. Because I will tell you one thing, guys, I am always about having the permission to lead, connect to my people. But at the end of the day, it's an effort to be productive, you know, because it's connecting to my people so I can be productive and then do what the agency expects. So having said that, I'm not minimizing my connection to the people, but there'll be some times where it's like, hey, guys, I have to hold somebody accountable for this because the consequences were that severe. Now, with that said, Anthony, from your experience and perspective, is it more difficult to implement change as an administrator when litigation comes out? And now, I want to add one more thing before I get to Russ and Joe on this. Time restrictions will never change a priority. It only makes it urgent. So for good managers, they know the difference between what's urgent and what's a priority. All because someone puts a timestamp on something doesn't mean it's a priority. It just means it's urgent. So I don't quickly jump for pressure change because it has a time frame on it. Because again, it doesn't shift my perspective of what I've been working on that is a priority. And usually for me, my priority are my people. What can I do better for them and then still be productive? So sometimes it could be tough because people are going to push the pressure down. But sometimes as management, if you could just voice your opinion and say, hey, listen, that time frame isn't doable because in the meantime, I have 5 other priorities I got to do. All of a sudden, the time frame, which is ambiguous to begin with because no one knows where they're getting that time frame from, we could shift that. But that's where management and executive staff got to say, hey, we'll get to what you want to get to. I get it. But all because you put a week timeline, a week to get it done, did not make what you want to happen a priority. And I'm not going to tell my staff to start getting confused of what should be done first, a priority or urgent. So I want you guys to know if there's any change coming your way, never sacrifice a priority for what is urgent. All because something has a time frame on it doesn't mean it's a priority. It means it's only important to someone because they decide to put some ambiguous time frame to it. Great comments, Stevie. I hope I did well on that.